To all of our beautiful exes, we just want to say, I'm going to speak on her behalf. Thank you. Thank you for all of the learning lessons, the experiences, and just, I wouldn't change anything.
Me neither.
I wouldn't change anything. Like I said, once again, I send much love, and I pray, that y'all doing really well, and that y'all either with somebody that's in alignment with you, or you're going to soon find somebody. So, but yeah, appreciate y'all.
We 5 minutes in and we ain't said nothing. Oh, God, Jamal. That is not cool.
I need you to get this handshake.
I don't want to. It's not cool.
How about we have them to vote?
Vote on the handshake?
Yeah. Let's show them our 3 handshakes.
What are our 3 handshakes? Okay, we have 3 handshakes.
Handshake number 1. That's number 1. Handshake number 2. Yeah.
I love that one.
Handshake number 3.
That's so stupid. But okay.
But think about it when you in the gym, though. I'm like, baby, put in that work. Let's go. And I walk up to you. Get them 5. Let's go. You just walk up randomly.
But the other one, we did that at the gym, and it was cool.
Okay, babe. You always win.
They can still vote if they want to.
Yeah, y'all vote. Pick number 3. All right. Bring him in, baby.
All right. Hello, gods and goddesses. Welcome to the Black and Abundant podcast, where we are talking all things Black abundance and how our people can elevate in every area of their lives. We're not settling around here.
Yes, sir. What is settling, man? What is that?
What is settling? We need to put that on a shirt.
Yeah.
What is settling? Ooh. Watch out for our What is Settling shirts coming soon.
Yeah, we're going to put the link below. That was fire.
That was fire. Yeah, we're your hosts. I'm Nia. This is Jamal.
What's up, people?
Welcome to our family, our hood, our kingdom, our queendom.
Welcome back. We are 4 episodes in now. Hey, that's great.
4?
He's so ratchet, man.
Whatever. Anyway, he loves my ratchet, but he always be complaining about it.
Not really.
I'm like, you would have been upset if I was from the suburbs. If I was that kid that went to a private school and grew up in that nice middle upper class family.
Nah, well, probably so. Let me tell you about this queen right here, man. Like, we'll be driving somewhere, and she'll be navigating GPS, right? I'd be like, babe, what do we turn? She would like, turn left. I'm like, what? Turn left. Who? You mean left?
No. Left.
If that ain't ratchet, oh my God.
He can't say nothing. He from the country. So.
But at least I finished my words.
Don't let me get on your grandma.
All right, y'all don't want that smoke.
You don't?
Yeah, my grandma is, yeah. But I don't give a damn, though.
We working on it.
It is
slowly
what it is.
But surely. I can turn my white voice on. I can code switch.
Nah, I don't need that white voice because, we don't look at it from that. We look at everything from an Afrocentric view, right?
You're right.
So, we unprogramming. We ain't trying to be like them. We trying to be like who we originally are and who we supposed to be.
Then accept my slang.
So, accepting your slang means accepting your blackness.
I mean, I feel like there are different forms of blackness, but it's where I come from. It's my hood. You want me to accept my culture?
That ghetto ass Brighton. I'm not disrespecting Brighton.
Whatever. All 10 people that live there.
If I'm talking about Brighton, then I got to talk about Digger. Talladega. It's Talladega. If you from Digger, you already know what it is.
Talladega
Shout out
Nights.
to Digger Nation, man. 256, man.
205 Live. To the day we die.
I'm working hard to put myself in a position to have the resources so I can come back and give, man. Like, I think about y'all every day. But anyway, so, babe, tell me about this thing you was, talking about yesterday, the facade of love. We was having a conversation about that yesterday.
Were we?
Was it yesterday or the day before?
I feel like this was like last week. So there was this topic that I really wanted to hit on called the facade of love. And we were supposed to do it last week, but, we had another podcast where we just talked couples therapy. So if you haven't gone and listened to that episode, go listen to that episode, because that was real. That was real and raw stuff. Like, this was real time conversation that we were having about our relationship. So definitely go check it out. But yeah, so this is a topic that I really wanted to hit on last week, but we never really got around to it. So I wanted to bring it back around because I feel like our image of love is so distorted and it's so tainted.
Mm-hmm.
And last week I mentioned the fact that I'm creating a course for women who are going through a breakup. And basically it's going to help them restore their independence, restore their confidence, and really create an identity outside of their ex.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been researching a lot on this topic. So how can I really help these women really grow from the experience? So one thing that I've done is I've joined a Facebook group, which is a breakup support group for people. And one thing I've been doing is just reading, because people just go in there and they vent and they ask for advice. And I've been reading it and I've seen some crazy stuff, like some wild things. And I'm not judging nobody, but you can tell when there is a lack of self-love within someone.
Can you share one of the examples that you read?
Man, what was it? It was, she stalked them. That's what it was. So there was this one lady who, her and her boyfriend broke up. And she said something about how when they were together, he was very weary about where he lived. So when they broke up, she found out where he lived. Like, she did some investigating to figure out his address, and then like stalked him and like went to the house and just like bust up in there. And apparently he was living with like 2 other women. And she said it was like disgusting in there. And like the women were older and he just felt bad for her, or she just felt bad for him because of his living situation. And that's how she was able to get over him. But in my mind, I was like, does it really take all that? I mean, maybe it does. I mean, I've done some crazy stuff out of love. I'm not going to say that I'm not perfect, or that I'm perfect, but there's lines. There's definitely lines. Sure. So I feel like there's a big problem. We're like in a self-love epidemic where people are doing some crazy stuff out of trauma and out of this desire to be loved. Like, you look at our relationship and it's all cute and stuff, yeah, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't a healthy situation.
You're right.
We've been in unhealthy relationships in the past, and that's something that I really wanted to talk about today, was just kind of reflect on our past situations and talk about how we were blinded and where love came into play and where trauma came into play, where attachment came into play. Because I feel like a lot of people confuse attachment for love.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing a lot of in this group, and listening to this audiobook that I've been listening to, that people just stay in very toxic situations and they do very toxic things because they're afraid of change. And they justify it by saying that it's love. Because when you do something crazy and then you're like, well, I love him, it's like, oh, okay, well, I understand. Love is strong. No, that's not love. That's not why you're doing that.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to hear you expound more on that, but I can 100% relate because I did that for years.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I stayed in a relationship for years with some person. I hate to put it that way.
With this some person?
Yes. I guess I'm just careful to. I don't want to talk bad about that person at all. I want to tread lightly, because just where I was at that time, my ex was a very beautiful person inside and out, but just seeing how I operated in that relationship, everything you're saying is I can relate 100%. Like I stayed due to familiarity and comfort, and due to I thought that because we was in each other's lives for years, I didn't. The thought of seeing this person not being in my life never crossed my mind, so I didn't see nothing else outside of that. So I just involved whatever toxic stuff that we had going on. I normalized that. I just thought like this is what it's going to be. So I just stayed in that for years, and the signs was there. As you can't just go and be in this relationship and you learn and you figure out, okay, like this is obvious that like it's not working, it's not going to work, and you not want to do better. You know what I'm saying? Like the signs are there, but what we do is because we're so afraid of, we have placed our identity with this person, and we're so afraid of stepping outside of that. We can't see ourselves outside of that we don't want to do the work to remove ourselves. And that's a very scary thing to do. So many emotions are built in that.
My bad.
We lead love from emotions, but that's
not what love is.
Scary, terrible place to be and scary things to do. And that's exactly what I was doing. So yeah, expound on that for me, babe.
And before I do, I just want to say that I think I can speak for both of us. There's not a single ex that we have or situation that we have where we have any bad blood or anything negative to say. Because it's not like we were with bad people. It's that either we were young, we didn't really understand what love was. We didn't really understand how a healthy relationship is supposed to be. We weren't really healthy and whole within ourselves to the point where we could make good decisions, much less them. You attract what you are. So I can't say that my exes were these terrible people without saying the same thing about myself.
Yeah.
Because I attracted them.
Facts. Let me add into that. I just got to make sure I say this. To all of my exes, I appreciate y'all. It's nothing but good love, and I say good energy. I hope all of y'all are. I don't have many exes, but I pray for y'all, and I hope that y'all in a great space, a great place within yourselves, and in y'all journey in this life. I've learned so much, not only about relationships, but about myself. We was only doing what we knew.
Yeah.
Like I always say, it was certain things I just did not have the blueprint. And yeah, it was kind of like you live life trial and error, you learn from your experience, and then you just grow from that. So I just want to make sure I say that, like I saying good energy, good vibes. Nothing but love to y'all. So yeah.
Same, honestly, same. I feel like I've had a conversation with all of my exes after the fact of us, breaking it off, except for one who hates me, but that's. I mean, he's justified. He's justified. I messed that one up. I did something dirty. That was probably the dirtiest thing I've ever done. So that's life. But
that's life.
Even to him, I'm very happy for you. I think he's getting married now, so that's dope.
Good.
Like
that's
I'm
beautiful.
happy for you. I'm happy that you were able to find that one for you. And to everyone, like I wish nothing but happiness in your life. And I really hope that you find someone who was nothing like me. Like, same. I don't think that these are bad people at all, but I just think that there's people that are for you and there's people that aren't for you. Like, looking at my past relationships, I recognize that all of them came from a place of pain. I can't say that I truly loved any of my exes because I never loved myself. And because I never loved myself, I saw the people that I was with as a means to an end.
Facts.
They were there to fill a hole, and I liked them enough to keep them around. And I excused their toxicity because they were fulfilling a need that I had. And that sounds really fucked up when you put it that way, because it sounds like you're just using people, but in essence, aren't you really using each other? Because if I had some toxicity going on, then I know that you did. And one thing, when I was listening to this ebook yesterday, she said something key. She said, healthy people don't get into relationships with unhealthy people.
Bar.
You're right. If you're a healthy person, you will never settle for someone who's unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Healthy people get with healthy people. Unhealthy people get with unhealthy people. Period. So looking back at my situations, like I was in an abusive relationship, my very first relationship, real relationship in college. I was a college freshman. But I was in an abusive relationship back then, and looking back, we fell in love so hard. We fell in love so hard, so fast. And now understanding what infatuation is, I see that what I was feeling was just strong feelings of infatuation.
Talk about it.
Because we were only talking for like a month before we were like, oh my God, like that's the one. Like we're perfect for each other. And it'd be like little things that just line up.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was, like I was a skateboarder at the time. I was like this punk rock kid. I don't know what I was going through. But I was a skateboarder at the time. You know, I dance and I'm part Korean and I was an engineering major. So I met this guy who was a dancer, skateboarder. His grandmother was Korean like mine, which I thought, that just blew my mind.
Just lining up.
I was like, oh, that's perfect. The stars aligned. The stars have aligned. Found out later that his grandmother was actually Vietnamese, but he didn't know the difference.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone.
Whatever. Okay, so I don't know. But anyway, and he was also an engineering major, so he was like, oh my God, this is perfect. Fell in love within a month. We went, so vacations are toxic. Vacations are super toxic because we met right around spring break. And our friend groups were the same. Like my best friend started dating his best friend. Mm-hmm. So then our friend groups just like intertwined. So we were like, let's go to PCB for spring break. Man, we had a blast. And our friends were white. Let's just put this into perspective.
They know how to have a good time.
Our friends were white, and their parents had money. Like, they had condos in PCB. So we were just bouncing around from condo to condo. They buying us drinks. They taking us to different clubs. Like, it was lit. So, of course, you fall in love in a place like that. Mm-hmm. Of course, you ain't got nothing to argue about. You on vacation. We were there for like a week. Like, so... And he asked me to be his girlfriend on the beach underneath the stars and da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, my God, this is so perfect. Just to come back and find out that he has anger issues. I dealt with anxiety and depression. I felt like it was good. This was also around the time of my suicide attempt. So I think we started dating in March because that was spring break. And my suicide attempt was that May. So it was about 2 months later. So for those 2 months, we were straight. Like, we hadn't really had an argument until my suicide attempt, and I mentally kind of spun out of control with my depression and my anxiety, and that triggered his anger issues.
Wow.
So it was this constant battle between my anxiety and his anger, and those two do not work well together. Mm-hmm. I grew up in a household where my mother had anger issues. So partially part of the reason why I attracted a man like that is that I dealt with that in my household growing up. So I thought that was normal. Dealing with someone with anger issues was normal to me, even though it was very toxic and very damaging to my well-being and my self-esteem. It was normalized for me. So being in that situation and him taking his anger out on me, of course, just made it worse for me. Mm-hmm. Like, it turned into something very abusive where I was scared. Like, I was literally scared every day because it got to a point where he would start a fight about something every single day. And I stayed for so long because I thought, okay, I'm in love with this guy. Mm-hmm. Like, this is love. I can do better. And also, I want as we're talking about our experiences, I really want you to look back on your experiences as well. Like I really want you to look back at your past relationships and your current relationship now to see if you see any of these signs because it's vitally important. But I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Reflecting back in your past relationships. Um,
He was abuse. It was abuse. Oh, okay. I was scared. My bad. I was scared like every single day. And one thing that he did is that he would talk so down on me. So like when he would get into his little fits, he would just paint this image that it was my fault. That I was never going to find anyone better.
Damn.
And him constantly telling me that. And of course, like I said, unhealthy people attract unhealthy people. So if I was healthy within myself, I would have been like, fuck you, go about your day.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was unhealthy, because my self-love was already low, because my self-esteem was already low, he was able to just slide
Eat
in
that
there
up. Yeah.
and create the narrative that he wanted me to believe. So now I had this narrative that it's all my fault. Like there's something that I can do. If I wasn't so depressed and anxious, he loved to throw in my face that I was nothing like this before you came into my life. You're the one who brought this out of me. You're the one who did this. If you ask my friends and my family, I'm not like this at all. I'm one of the nicest people. People love me. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. That was what it was like. So hearing that every day.
You trying to pull up on him?
No.
I'm just playing.
And I also want to keep in mind that ever since then we've been on good terms.
Mm.
Like when we broke up last year, I rekindled with him, and we became friends. And this was 3 years after we had broken up, so we had plenty of time to heal. I recognized that he still hadn't healed from the situation, so we were able to finally find peace with that and genuinely be friends. But he decided not to be my friend anymore because it was hard, which I understand. Like we were each other's first love. And sometimes that can get really hard. It can get really toxic to try to befriend that person.
Mm-hmm.
But to know that there's still love there, not even in the romantic sense, but friendly love. Like I said, he's not a bad person. We were just caught in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. Let's bring it back, baby. You said some fire things. So number one is about healthy people don't get with unhealthy people, right? Definitely do not want to sleep past that because when you really sit and think about that, that's very true. Because when you're healthy, you're able to pinpoint things, pick out things, honor your alerts that you see, and remove yourself from the situation. But why is it that we don't do that in these relationships? And as you're talking, I'm just reflecting back over my life and over my past relationship. As for me, the last relationship that I was in, it was like a 7-8 year run, on and off.
Yeah.
Met this girl when I was 18, and we broke things off. Let's say recently last year, and it was tough, but I see why it was tough for me in so many different ways. But even though I would say this all the time, she was a great person, human being. Why is it that we stayed with each other so long when the signs was there? And I believe it's because in some way, shape, or form, we were feeding off each other's toxicity in some type of way. But we didn't realize what we was doing until it got to a point where it was like the signs were just very obvious. So definitely expound on that more. Like, why do we do that, man? Like, how do we know what's healthy? I think it's how do you know what's healthy when you're in that? Because if I would have known, if I was strong enough, of course I would have chunked the deuces sooner. She would have chunked the deuces sooner. Why is it that we come back? Because I ran back a few times. But why so? Why did I keep running back to that? So talk about that. And if I can give my answer, is it that you don't know what's healthy until you're exposed to what unhealthy is first? Is it that way, or can you start off healthy? Because in this life, the best way to gain experience, like you just have to learn from your experiences and do the necessary work to become more self-aware through those experiences and tell yourself like, hey, this is what I'm not going to do next time. Okay, the growth is accepting that new self-awareness. All right, I'm going to take what I learned from this. I know what not to do. Okay, so next time when I see stuff like this, I can be able to point it out. So back to the question, how do you know what's healthy?
So you said something key. You asked the question of, is it that you start off knowing what healthy is, or do you learn from experience what healthy is not?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you look at the relationships that, the first relationship that we look at is our parents. And if not our parents, if we live in a one-parent household, then the romantic relationships that that parent has. Now, for me, my parents split when I was 6 years old. That was toxic from the jump. My dad was a compulsive cheater, and my mom stayed for much longer than she needed to. So it's just constant arguing and bickering, violence, guns. Like I said, my dad was a kingpin in the drug game. So yeah, I grew up seeing a lot of stuff that I did not need to see. So that laid the foundation for me about what relationships are. Mm-hmm. And then living with my mother and her being with the same guy. She never married, but he was like my stepdad because they were together from when I was 6 years old all the way until I was like in high school. But he was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. They got into fist fights and arguments and punching holes in walls, stuff like that. Very toxic situation. He abused her both mentally, emotionally, physically, all that, seeing that. And then going over to my dad's house. I told you about this yesterday when we were talking about how my dad was married twice and the relationship that he had with his two wives. He showed me, like, I was around watching him cheat. Like, I've seen naked women run across my bedroom. He's taken me to a store and bought 2 things and told me to act like one was for me so that he could give it to the other woman. I've seen him take women to motels and stuff. I was there. I was watching firsthand my father cheat on his 2 wives.
Wow.
So I had this fucked up view of relationships.
Yeah.
But I imagine someone who's in a household where they like have 2 parents and it's actually a healthy situation, that they wouldn't settle for anything less than what their parents had. That's the thing. My parents set the bar so freaking low for me that a little better than what they had was still pretty shitty, you know? So I imagine if the bar was set, because I think about your relationship. The relationship that you had with your ex wasn't abusive.
Not at all.
So the only thing is that you guys just didn't match. Y'all didn't mesh well. But I just think about the parent, like how you grew up with your grandparents and how they had a pretty solid relationship. Like they might have been like absent because they were both working so hard, and so you didn't really get to see the ins and outs of their dynamic. But at least you knew what somewhat a healthy situation was.
All right.
For me, I didn't have that. So I feel like it starts with that, but then also it happens with the experience. One thing that we talked about yesterday, I was trying to come up with like my sentence that was going to basically explain what my course is. And we were talking about pain points. What are people who are going through breakups? What do they really, truly want? And one thing, I just started writing down things that they want. And one thing that I wrote down was the ability to trust their intuition. Because I think intuitively, you know whether your situation is healthy or not. You know whether you want to stay or not. One thing my mother said to me when I was in my abusive relationship, and she said, either you accept him for who he is, you accept that he's not going to change, and you deal with it, or you leave. Those are your only two options.
That's powerful.
Because I knew the abuse. I see it firsthand. And I think sometimes we trick ourselves into thinking that people are going to change. But one thing that I learned through our breakup is the best way to encourage someone to change is to leave.
Yeah.
That is the only way. If someone doesn't want to change for themselves, and if you've given them multiple opportunities, the only way, the only chance that you have at them is changing is leaving. And definitely want to get it back into that later. But finishing my thought about intuition, you know whether your relationship is healthy or not.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's going on. You can see you're not stupid. Okay? You can see the signs. But you choose to ignore them because of your trauma, because of your negative self-beliefs, because of your beliefs about relationships. So people know what's healthy and not healthy. All you have to do is ask yourself, does this feel good or does it not feel good? Is this wrong? Like, does this feel bad? Is this making me feel bad? If you say yes, then it's probably not the place that you should be in. But you don't ask yourself those questions because you're afraid of the answer.
I can just, oh my God. I hope y'all really taking down these notes and picking up what she dropping, because this is some really good stuff right now. Man, it just made me think about my past relationship. And it's okay to say that, like, it really boils down to what you're willing to accept and not accept, what you're willing to tolerate, not tolerate. What your mom said was very deep. It was really good. And I guess I want to just kind of expound on my personal experience with myself. Like, I honestly think one of the main reasons why we stayed together so long, I'm thinking back to the person I was when I was from 18 until 25, 26, whatever. Even though she is a great, beautiful person, and now comes from a great, strong Christian family background, has the utmost amazing ideal support system. You know, mother was, that warm motherly love. Like she gave that dad. Her father is, the military. They're both military, so he's very stern, but also, very good father figure in a way. So, and like I said, came from a good church background, and for me as well, my grandfather's a pastor, come from a church background. My grandmother gave that motherly love too, and we all connected in that way. We related so well with that, and babe, I realized that time frame, a lot of those years, I was still trying to figure out who I was. And also a lot of the things that I did was to please other people, but not myself. And I also realized through this relationship, I've grown and shifted and transformed so many times in that journey. And I was starting to find myself and what I value outside of my family and what this world says about me, and solidifying my principles. And I realized through that journey, that's where that divide started to happen. And a lot of our journey was due to relatability, just like with your first guy. But I thought that was what I was looking for in relationships. I need to find somebody that's going to make my grandfather happy, my family happy, and all those things. And like, her mother and father, they like me because they see my background. I play in the church. I was, very Christian led and things of that nature. And that's what she was looking for because that was her blueprint. But as I started to grow and going in this life and find myself, the more I started going on a journey, we started to separate and divide. And I was trying to get her to come along with me. And the things that I was identifying myself, it was factual, made sense. But she found it difficult to make that leap because she didn't want to stray away from that. And I found that hard to get away because, like I said, back then, like I said, I didn't know who I was for real. I was led by emotions. Love was emotional to me. It wasn't understanding. And that was a lot of my journey with this particular person. And then also comfort, familiarity, and we talked about this, and it through that built a lot of toxic experiences, and you're stunning your own self growth. You're stunning your own self. You're not giving yourself the space to grow as a human being. And my higher self was telling me, bro, you already know what's up. I've told you many times now, this ain't it. Why are you still here? Because there was something in me. There was an insecurity, a void within me that was so afraid to let that go. And I feel like that's the same situation in their own unique way, toxic way, that they're experiencing the same thing too. So, but like, as you were speaking like that, I really feel like that was one of the main reasons why I decided to stay so long. And well, this amazing, beautiful relationship that I've been blessed to be with now, that has honestly leveled me up in so many different ways. And just we connect not only just from the physical, like we're attracted to each other, but we have so many deep revelations of understanding about with each other. Like we operate well as self first, but we complement each other well in so many ways, in different many ways of life. But our love is deep rooted and real, not from not the infatual way, not from the emotional way, and I've grown so much with that. And with you are the complete opposite of my ex, and you are the complete opposite of what my family would look for, as a person that they think that I should be with.
Yeah.
Like you just knock everything off, but I love that because you're your own unique person. You're in line with my values and my principles, and you're your own being. And I just think it's wild, but I know that now because I learned the hard way with the first, and learned my lessons and things of that nature, but also went through a phase of finding out who I am and what it is that I desire, what I want, what it is that I truly want in a woman and don't want in a woman, and things of that nature. And I was able to make sound, better decisions this go around with you. And it just all makes sense now.
That's so key, babe. That's so good.
Yeah.
You were always a black sheep in your family.
Yeah.
But I felt like you never wanted to accept it. You were a black sheep in your friend group, your upbringing, like you were just always different. And I felt like you struggled to accept that.
Yeah.
Or I felt like I always knew I was different, but that's what made me special. I was never afraid of being different. I recognize that about myself. I was never really afraid of being different.
Ooh, you're right. I was afraid to accept the fact that I was different.
And that showed in your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And I just like, Jamal, I got to see firsthand his relationship with his ex. And I'm not going to dive too deep into that. But like when I came into his life, they were on an off period. I think a recent off period. And when he saw who I was and that I was completely different, but that I aligned with who he wanted to be and who he truly was. And I saw that. Women, we have some type of like thing. I don't know what it is, but I felt like I knew who Jamal was more than he did at some point.
Yeah, you did.
Because I knew who you wanted to be. And that's what I kept hanging on to. That's another tidbit, is that you cannot hang on to potential. Because even though I knew the man that Jamal wanted to be, that did not give me a reason to stay. Because unless he truly became that man, then what was I really there for? Because I did not want the man that he was. I wanted the man that he desired to be. Because the man that he was an asshole. I'm just being real.
Yeah.
He was an asshole. And because he was still in love with his ex and still like in love with his ex and hanging on to that attachment, to that idea of the relationship, our relationship felt unreal. I always felt like the other woman. Even though we was out here in these streets in a relationship and together and spending every day together and stuff like that, I still felt like the other woman because I knew where he mentally was. It seemed like he was always with her. And looking back at that relationship, of course, I shouldn't have been there. But because of where I was in myself, I held on to you. Because I had this codependency on you, because I saw so much potential and so much value in you, because I saw your heart. I just kept holding on to that. Well, he's a great person. He's just lost. He's just making some bad decisions. But remember earlier I said that if you really want somebody to change, let them do that on their own. One of the best things he could have done was leave. And because that gave us the space for not only for him to change, but for me to change, because I had to heal from my codependency and my attachment style. But then he had to go figure out what he had to go figure out.
Yep.
So what I really wanted people to take from your story, because, I mean, now that you put that into perspective, y'all were together from 18 to 26 on and off. That's a huge gap.
Yeah.
And that time frame, that age group is like literally the most transformative years of your life.
Yep.
That's when you really get to figure out who you are. The person I was at 18, I was a little shithead, okay? Like, that's when I was in that first relationship. It was when I was 18. So watching how you learn and how you grew and how you guys grew apart because you started to find who you really were, it begs the question of, how do you commit to somebody knowing that people change? And I think about like our relationship now. Like, we talk about, eventually marriage and stuff like that. But in our 20s, how do we commit to somebody in our 20s for the rest of our lives? How do we really prepare for that? And one thing that we had talked about the other day, so we got into an argument the other day, and I'm gonna try to sum it up.
Oh my God.
But I'm going through some stuff emotionally, and one of my coping mechanisms is food. If you feel me, you feel me. So I really wanted some fries. So he took me to get some fries, and then was like really pissed about it. And just when Jamal gets upset or frustrated, he'll shut me out for a time period. So he shut me out the whole rest of the night. Didn't say nothing to me. Just shut me out the whole rest of the night, and I'm just happily eating my fries.
Fried pickles.
Anyway, them fried pickles was good too. They was from Zaxby's. Anyway, so I left the next morning, and I just went to go sit at my mom's house because I'm like, okay, he got an attitude. Let me just, whatever. So what I thought he was upset about was the fact that I was eating fries. Because we used to have an argument back in like May. I think May was the last time that we had this argument where he thought that I did not value eating healthily because I wanted some dang fries that day. It was fries. It's always fries. But he was mad at me because he was like, how can I trust that you value living a healthy lifestyle? Because that's something that's very important to him when you want to eat fries. And I'm like, just because I want to eat fries today does not mean that I want to live an unhealthy lifestyle. That just means I want to eat some fries today. So we had the argument back in May, and we settled it. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, snap, this is the same crap over again. He mad because I'm eating fries, and he thinks that I don't value being healthy. Long story short, we finally sat down to talk about it, and he said that wasn't the problem. The problem was that I was spending money that we don't need to be spending like that. I was like, oh, okay, because I was in my head thinking, oh, is this something that I want to deal with? Is this something that I want to settle for? Like, is this something that I'm okay with? Because when you're looking at your relationships, you just have to evaluate whether you're willing to settle for something or not, because you're not going to love everything. You're not going to love everything about your partner. Now, I do not agree with settling for something that makes you unhappy. I don't think that that's okay. But there are going to be certain things that may like irritate you a little bit, or that maybe you just don't like a little bit that you're going to have to settle for. But it should never be big things. Just putting that into perspective. But anyway, so I was in my head thinking that this was an old problem that was coming up. And I'm like, damn, I guess he really didn't change. I guess this is how it's just going to be. But then to hear that that wasn't even the problem, I was like, dang, babe, you really did change. You really did listen. You really did apply.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes our relationship so strong. We actually listen and apply.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I know that this relationship is going to be sustainable. Because one thing that we always tell couples or ask couples, do you value the same thing? At the end of the day, we're going to grow and we're going to change. But one thing that we do value is growth and change.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be the best people that we desire to be. We want to live the best life that we can possibly live. We want to have the best foundation that we can possibly have for our children. We know that about ourselves. So we know that when there's going to be problems or issues that we face in our relationship, that we can trust one another to fix it. And I think that that's key.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I want to bet on. I don't want to speak from a place of like, we just got it all figured out, because we're not married.
Yeah.
You know, we've only known each other for 3 years and we have so many more years to go. But that's a risk that I'm willing to take.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bet that that's something I'm willing to bet on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I see it lining up in a way where I know that if something were to happen in the future, 10, 20, 30 years down the road, where we need it to grow in a way to save our relationship, I can trust you to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really, really good. And man, it's just going back and forth in my mind between past relationship and now. And I want to just kind of expound on that. Great storytelling, by the way.
Thank you.
You did so great with that. And just to add my 2 cents to that. Like, yeah, I realized that in this journey, yeah, we value the same things, but it's not going to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
That's one thing I had to let go, is expecting her to be perfect all the time, but just trust and believe that, you know, she truly values. And how do you know what a person values? Is through their actions and whatnot. And you've been putting in work and you've been showing up. And I honestly believe deep down in my heart that we do value the same things, because we wouldn't be together. Mm-hmm. And what the thing was with this time, and how just kind of what I said about to her, it wasn't the fact that you were just eating fries. It's that, babe, I really need you to understand that we are in a very pivotal, we're on the brink of a break, a launch, a breakthrough, and we have to be very intentional about every decision that we make during this time period, you know? Mm-hmm. And I was just like, yo, babe, it's already about half of the month, and I'm noticing patterns that we've been spending, going out, you know, eating, you know, certain foods quite a few times, and we kind of just, you know, we need to place a halt. And in my head, as me being so forward focused and on the mission so much, it's like I'm looking at it from, okay, babe, I really need you to understand that every single dollar that goes out, we need to be looking at it. We need to make asset-based purchases and not liability-based purchases. And doing multiple those type of expenditures is hurting us, because we would be putting that money towards investing in ourselves or towards things that's really crucial, that's going to bring us a return tenfold down the road. And when what I learned from that situation is, bro, make sure that you're clearly explaining your feelings and what's really going on, because you were going based upon something in the past, but now I was going based upon like, nah, this is what's really going on. So that's very, very key too. And I learned a lot from that experience too, and that was another groundbreaking moment in our relationship too. And I wanted to say one more thing too, is one thing I realized. Yeah, I think we good.
like blurry.
Uh-oh. Yo, we're blurry right now. Just
Focus.
look. Just rock with it. We're going to you gonna fix it?
I'm gonna fix it.
All right, well, we're gonna close out in the next 5 minutes. Ooh, we still blurry. Yeah, I think we good.
There we go.
Okay,
I
great.
don't know why it does that.
Yeah, we're doing it ugly, you know what I'm saying? Done is better than perfect, but trust and believe we're gonna elevate and upgrade the technology so we can give y'all a better
Yeah.
experience of our podcast. But not saying that my previous relationship that she wasn't growth minded. She was growth minded in her own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure I say that and I give her that respect. And one thing that is at the foundation of my being and who I am is, and if I'm going to consider spending the rest of my life with somebody, is that this person must be growth minded
In the direction that you're going.
in the direction that we are going. Thank you. And why was it so difficult for me to leave last, and why did I stay so long? And I took a lot of time to think, and what I come to a conclusion is like, well, it was that. Like, she just wasn't growth minded in that direction. And one of the most painful things for me with just relationship is realizing that I had to let go of somebody who was not willing to be growth minded in the way that I wanted to be. And I had to accept that and understand that. But one of the most freeing and liberating and most beautiful things that ever happened to me is that I actually aligned and got with somebody, got with somebody who was growth minded in the direction that I wanted to go. And I wish that for every man out there, to find somebody who was willing to be growth minded in that same direction, because that's very, very, very important.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be held back. You don't want to be held back. But when we're aligned in value system and principle, it just makes the downside of the arguments, things, worth it. Because at the root foundation, we know that we're still going in the same thing. It's just certain technical things that I'm not really clear how to go about with relationships or something like that, because I've never been taught properly. I don't know what's up. Mm-hmm. But we're growing together and learning together. So I think that's really, really, really dope.
I feel like we could talk about this topic so much, because there's just so many things that we've learned about relationships along the way, and in both of our past relationships and also in our current relationship, we're constantly learning and growing about how to really have a healthy relationship. What isn't a healthy relationship? How to really make decisions. I feel like we could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to have to bring this topic back up from a different lens in the future.
Yeah.
But we'll figure that out.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap this up, close it out. But before you do, give 2 or 3 takeaways from our conversation that people need to just pull from this. I just want to say to all of our beautiful exes, we just want to say, I'm going to speak on her behalf. Thank you. Thank you for all of the learning lessons, the experiences, and just I wouldn't change anything.
Me neither.
I wouldn't change anything. Like I said, once again, I send much love, and I pray, that y'all doing really well, and that y'all either with somebody that's in alignment with you, or you're gonna soon find somebody. But yeah, appreciate y'all.
So I'm gonna give a brief recap on the facade of love, but then I have one question that I want us to answer very briefly before we go.
Okay.
So basic recap is just, don't confuse love with toxicity and with attachment. Really look back at the relationships that you grew up around. Really look at the areas that you need to grow in. Trust your intuition. Ask yourself, is this a situation that makes me happy? Is this a situation that I can grow in? Is this healthy for me? Because you really know, but what's holding you back is your attachment. What's holding you back is your negative self-beliefs and your self-doubts and your fear of change. So the best thing that you can do is address those things and do that alone. We like to think that, maybe you can grow and change in a relationship, and maybe you can. Maybe you can, but I think that the cliche saying of if you love something, let it go And if it's meant to be, it'll come back to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened with us. And I couldn't imagine trying to force it
Mm-hmm.
when we were together and trying to heal and grow while we were together the first time. We wouldn't be where we are today.
Right.
We probably would have ended up hating each other
Mm-hmm.
and never even considering getting back together in the first place. So I'm glad that we split, and maybe a split is the best thing that you can do so that you guys can grow independently and figure out who you are, because I can promise you that most of your relationship problems that you have to do with something internally, yourself.
Facts.
Not even the other person, but internally within yourself. So the best thing that you can do is separate and figure that out independently. And then if it's meant to be, y'all will come back together. And if it's not, y'all will find someone new.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, you'll have a better relationship with or without that person moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So the question that I wanted to ask, because we're talking about the facade of love, so how people confuse love with attachment and other things. What is love?
What is love?
We got 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One thing about me, man, I have a difficult time explaining or defining things, but I definitely have it in my head.
Okay.
You go first.
Okay. I would say that what we know love to be right now, we can't even fully grasp it. Love is something that's so big and so broad, and I think that it grows over time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that where we are right now, I can say that I'm in love with you. I can say that this is love because it's coming from a healthy place, because I have already done the work and I've already fallen in love with myself.
Facts, likewise.
Oh my gosh.
Love
But
it.
I can say that we are in love because we have the foundation, because we've done the work, because we have a healthy relationship, because I don't feel like I'm settling in any area in our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing big, at least. Because I can say those things positively, then I can say, yeah, this is love.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't feel like I'm holding on to you from an unhealthy place. One thing that you said yesterday is you said, we don't need each other. We just really, really want each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's how relationships should be. Like, if he were to walk out today, I'd be fine. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to put myself in a position to where I'm suffering for him. We know that if this ever became a toxic situation, that we would part ways. We can trust each other on that.
Mm-hmm.
So I can say that we're really loving each other from a good place.
We are.
But I think that love is going to mature and grow as we mature and grow over time.
Facts. But why so?
Well, because I feel like our relationship is going to take many different forms. Like, what happens when marriage gets involved? Mm-hmm. When kids get involved? I feel like a whole new level of love unlocks when you have kids. Mm-hmm. You know, when we're old, when one of us goes through something and is down and out, like those big life-changing situations are really going to deepen our love for each other.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it's very important to make sure you're rooted in self, first and foremost, and which we are, and we're continuously doing the work to be rooted in self. And continuously, we talk all the time about, hey, babe, what's our values? Mm-hmm. You know, what we stand for, what we don't stand for. Like, what are our principles? That has to be a continual thing, because there's so many uncontrollables in this life that's going to happen. But what doesn't change is principles and laws. You know,
yeah.
Certain things you just can't go get. But what are yours, and do our principles and values and laws align? If it's continuously aligning, no matter what happens, we're going to be good. But I can definitely tell you what love is not. Love is not emotions and feelings. Yeah. And that is one thing that I did in my previous relationships, is allow my emotions and feelings to dictate my actions, and thinking that, oh, this feeling, like, I'm just so infatuated, like, this is how I know this is it. Nah, you will F yourself up. Don't play yourself like that.
Yeah.
But love to me is action and many different things. But one thing you taught me this the last go around is, like, love is is an action thing. It's in how you move with this being, the things that you do for this person from a good place, attached to the other things I was talking about with do we align and whatnot. Because I think about the stuff that I do for you on a day-to-day basis. I'm like, damn, I've never done this for a woman before, but it's from a good, healthy place, and I feel really good about it. And I see where we're going, and every day that I lay my head down, and despite what goes on, we have our days where it's just like we like cats, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But still, though, when I lay my head down, it's like we good, we still rocking. It was very productive,
Yeah.
you know. And that's love to me. And I can go more and more and more, but in a simple way, yeah. That's what I know what love is not, but what love is too.
Love is dying to yourself every day.
Yep.
Every single day, we have to consider the other person's needs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about ourselves anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. Love is showing up every day. It's that action piece.
Yeah. And I don't feel bad dying to myself.
I don't.
That's how I know.
Yeah.
That's how I know. Like, yep. That's a whole nother topic right there.
It is. It is. So I guess we'll talk about that at some point.
That's love.
Did you just have a realization?
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, let's wrap this up, babe.
All right. Well, that's it. So follow us. Yeah, follow us. I am at by Nia Love. He is at the Alka CEO. And like he said last week, he's actually going through a rebrand.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got the name down, but y'all will see that coming soon. We have some great things for you guys to check out and some great things coming soon. The puppy is needing some love. She said, I'm tired of y'all. Y'all been ignoring me for an hour and a half. She needs a bath.
Yeah, she does.
This is our dog, May.
What's up? Say what's up, mama.
She's a cute little old lady. We love her, though. But anyway, yes, she's fully grown. She's like 10 years old. But anyway, yeah, go ahead and check us out at by Nia Love and at the Alka CEO. Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you guys next week. I told you that was the one.